All right. Welcome back, everybody, to hour 3 of Edge of Morality. Let's just continue, shall we?
Sure. So as I said, he kind of like awkwardly shuffled out of the room, just like almost like you would see somebody in like say a mental hospital, just kind of like shuffle, shuffle, shuffle out of the room. Went into his room of prayer. He didn't even shut the door behind him. You didn't even hear it shut. The door is open, and he just kind of went in there and just kind of like flopped. You can't see it, but you can hear. He just kind of went in there and flopped on the prayer area, and it's just kind of just started praying. Like he just needed some sort of something, like some sort of guidance to pull himself back. I mean, he's always been a man of faith, but he feels lost with the horrors that he just experienced, and he needs, as most people would, needs some sort of guidance, and he thinks that maybe Timora can provide that for him. So you guys are in that room. After a few moments pass, eventually you hear like footsteps, kind of like you guys absorbing that, make whatever comments or whatever you had made. You hear footsteps coming up the stairs across the porch and then walking into the room. And eventually, kind of like a head kind of poking in and looking around, you see the priest that was encountered by Rye beforehand. Kind of like looks around and taking in the area, and he's like, before I ask where he is, are all of you okay? Does anybody need any form of attention?
I imagine the awkward silence just happens.
Yeah.
Right kind of like looks around and she kind of shrugs and she's like, I'm still cursed.
Yeah, maybe not my top priority physically. I see blood, a lot of it, and none of the guards were injured, and Cassius didn't have any wounds out there, so I ask again. Okay, you don't want my help.
Grauman looks around fine. And then he looks at the blood that's on him, but he kind of is already healed up quite a bit, so he's just kind of like trying to see if there's stuff underneath the dirt.
Of course, there's still holes and injuries or whatever because it wasn't magically healed. It's just Grauman's too beefy to be taken down by crossbow bolts. Come on, just because it compares plate mail doesn't mean it can harm Grauman. Let's be serious. So he just kind of looks at you guys, and as Grauman has that reaction, nobody else even reacts at all. He just kind of slowly starts to nod, and he's like, "You are a sturdy lot. From what I understand, you've all been through quite an ordeal, all of you. There are several men that I've never seen complain, sobbing, still, outside after what they just experienced. Is everybody otherwise okay?" And he's kind of looking more to say Otto and Grauman than Thonk and Rye on this one. Are you guys okay?
I just nod.
Grauman also nods after he sees Otto nod.
Again, before I ask the question I originally came in here for, I do want to say it is very difficult to shuck a clam, but eventually when you do open it up, inside you do find a pearl, and it's quite the sight to behold. But shells aside, where's Cassius?
Praying.
Grauman's
Like this.
pearls.
Oh, he's in his shrine. It's probably quite a bit to process for the old man. I'll go check on him. If you change your minds and you just need somebody to have a conversation with, now just to remind you of this guy, to make sure we paint a good picture, this dude fucked up. like he's like mangled. He's seen like lots of battle. He's like lots of injuries and stuff like that. So he's coming at you guys with a soft tone. But this is not a man that's lived an easy life. And he's like, oh yes, I have been worshiping Timora my whole life because my father and his father before him all worship Timora. No, this is a man that's seen some shit, and he feels as though, despite the horrible mess and physical like destroying that he's gone through, despite all of that, he feels as though he's a lucky one. That it was through Timora's grace that he's been able to live as wonderful of life as he has. He stared into the darkness and only saw light. So that's the kind of person you do see before you. Again, not just some man with a robe on. And so he does say, if you need some, even just to talk to, I'll be in there offering guidance to Cassius. So don't feel as though you'd be a bother. And he turns and heads back into the other room to be at the praying with Cassius in there. And as he kind of like, you can see him stop at like the end of the hallway and kind of like looks in and kind of like watches for a few moments before he like nods to himself and then continues into the actual prayer room to join Cassius. So
Riley like muses out loud and she says, "Why is everybody acting so weird?"
Yeah, why they talk about clams and pearls?
Yeah, who's the clam?
Gronk just shakes his head.
Someone's a clam? Grumman's now like real confused.
Otto begins explaining the concept of a metaphor to Grommen.
Riley listens intently. She needs
So
to
Grumman's like, oh, thing not thing, but thing like thing.
Yeah, so they're trying to make a thing into another thing by representing it as that thing.
But it's not the thing.
Right, it's not the thing.
But then why
But
say
it's-
the thing is a thing if it's not the thing?
And this goes on and on and on.
Oh man, I imagine once you said the word, you just threw out like a four banger out there 2 seconds ago. I was like, oh man, do you have to get a dictionary just to explain that one word to Grommen? Anyways, so you guys kind of like sitting there for a few more minutes. What is the mood of the party, just so I can react to it? Is everybody kind of like, I guess we're just gonna sit around and wait to have more conversation with Cassius? So you guys like, we're pretty much done here. Why?
Grumman's stomach starts growling, and then he's like, "I hungry."
Riley like interjects and she's like, "I need a drink."
Otto says, I could use a nap.
Ooh, drinks sound good.
Let's go get a drink.
Good God.
I like that.
So everybody, Mathis?
No, I'll just probably go to, I don't know, my room, I guess.
Three of you guys get up and just start like engaging in whatever conversation as you make your way out the front door, down the steps, past everybody else that's kind of like maybe even making gestures towards them or talking about them, as you make your way over to the closest tavern to handle the situation the way that you know best.
I think Riley leaves a
Oh,
note on the
pointed at
table
himself.
that's just like at the bar, and then leaves it on like the long table, and they just head to the.
Aren't there multiples though? So you're just like at the bar, you have to find
Like,
what you
I
want.
leave it like next to his sword on the table because he left his sword there.
What did I say? Roll a D100 and see if there's a 91 or higher. He can find you, right? No.
Right.
So what does Thonk do while they go to do that?
He'll
Shit.
just go to his, like, I guess just to a room or something and just deal with it to the best of his capability.
Okay, so he kind of goes off and heads to his room. So at this point, I mean, it's one of those things where nobody immediately comes out and finds you guys. Nobody reacts or anything like that. You guys are just able to drink the night away. A few people in the bar kind of like will gesture towards you guys, and you can hear like talking about you and or whatever, because obviously something big just happens that involves you. But for the most part, it's just a routine night for you, sitting at a bar, Otto telling a tall tale, everybody having a good time, laughing and joking and pretending like nothing ever happens. So that kind of goes on throughout the night. And before we skip to just the next morning, does Grommen ever, or does he just accept no problem the fact that he's now wearing this necklace and thing, or just meh, just accepts it?
I think he hasn't realized yet necessarily about like what's going on. And I don't think he's necessarily having like a merry old time at the bar. He's kind of like actually oddly serious while he's drinking and still kind of confused. He's just in a real confused state in this moment.
Absolutely. So that all happens. You guys have good fun, blah, 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 and going through all that. Now, I imagine, and correct me if you feel otherwise, for both Gromit and Otto, because what was it they went through? They're having a routine happy night. But every once in a while, it's kind of like when you're in real life, when you're going through like a lot of crap, you're like in your personal life or whatever, you're easily able to like forget about it as you're like going through, whether it be a day at work or a lot of responsibilities that you have or whatever the case may be. But every once in a while, you have this moment of like where you just kind of like realize everything that's going on that's not very good, and then kind of like you just stop there and you're like in your head for whether it be 1 second or 10 seconds or whatever it may be, just kind of like overladen by what that is, and then you kind of like wash it away and kind of go back into living in this exact moment of whatever it is that you're doing, which is drinking, having fun with your friends. And when that moment happens for the two characters, for Gromit and Otto, what you're feeling, what you're experiencing is you feel that burning sensation in your lungs, your throat feeling like it's closing around you, just this powering presence of something that you just, this like dirtiness over yourselves, like you just feel like everything around you has gone wrong, and there's nothing you could ever do to correct it. You feel as though you're back to where you were beforehand, almost like a PTSD of what you just experienced. And so this happens a couple of times throughout the night, and more so when you're intoxicated and you're less able to kind of like control your inhibitions. But you are relatively able to enjoy the night, and Rai, who's drunk herself, isn't even able to perceive it off the two of you guys. Okay.
Yeah, and I'd like to imagine probably someone else notices maybe Otto notices the stuff that's on him. Because I don't think like Gromit would pick up on that right away, but like after a period of time, maybe.
Mm-hmm. And Rai, you have no remorse. You know what I mean? YOLO, motherfucker. Like YOLO. So you are muted, so
I was just saying Rai is like blackout drunk.
Okay, yeah.
She's just, the filter's off.
Yep. So you guys are good. So the night ends the way it usually does and everything. And
Except with Rai dancing on the table. No, I'm just kidding.
The next morning, you wake up hungover as you typically do. God, as you typically do. Sounds terrible. So, and the next morning you wake up. How else are you going to process a life of murder hobos? So you guys wake up the next morning and hungover, and it's kind of like clawing yourselves to get ready. Now, this next morning is a little...
Also, I like to go with the like nomad theory, not really necessarily a hobo, okay? Come on. Keep it classy, Scott.
I'll come up with a better phrase for, instead of murder hobos, like I don't know, something nomads. So anyways, you guys wake up the next morning. Now, the next morning is not just as typical as it usually is. Each one of you, when you go to open your door, again, it's like feeling like shit, hungover, you want to go get a drink or whatever. There's a guard standing out your door, like kind of like leaning on the wall opposite of where your door was, patiently waiting. If there's a door immediately across, then standing in the middle, whatever, looking at you. So as soon as you open the door, you're kind of like, huh? And poor Addo is staring at Shins, looks up and sees eyes. You see a guard, and then Gromit, who's looking down, looks directly at them. Because, you know, he's so tall. You see guards standing there immediately opposite you, and these guards say, Cassius would have a word with you this morning.
Are we like, is it just these two?
All three of you. It's actually so it says Cassius would have a word with you. That's actually all three of you, all four of you, when each one of you get up and go to leave your door, you see that guard standing immediately opposite you saying, you know, Cassius will have a word with you. So it's probably at different times. It doesn't really matter. Thonk the earliest because, you know, he's not hungover and he's usually an early bird anyways. I'm sure Thonk would say something along the lines of, piss off until I'm done with my morning rituals. And then he'll make his way over there.
Mm-hmm.
Gromit's like, how many words?
The guard has no response.
Grauman's just gonna go eat his breakfast then.
So Grauman goes down and eats his breakfast. The other two, so they're actually rather forceful of trying to get you there immediately. But again, Thonk very quickly says, like, piss off. I'm going to go and do my shit first. Everybody else is going to be sleeping late anyways, so you're going to have to wait. Whether or not the other two are feeling forceful into it, they see Grauman sitting there and eating and making their dude wait, and that dude's not going to fight with Grauman. So they could probably just join and have their breakfast. And then eventually all four of you are able to make your way over to Cassius. Three of you hung over, maybe feeling slightly better than Thunk. So you make your way to Cassius's house. Today, when you get there, you can see that there's carpenters refitting the door. They have finished taking their measurements. They're outside sawing the pieces and hammering it together and doing work out there to repair the door. You can hear lots of noise going on from upstairs. Looking up there, you can see the window that he had stepped out of, like over by that area from like around the house. You can see that there's people kind of like up there fitting pieces of glass and doing their own measurements and whatever, trying to repair the place. Lots of work going on upstairs. But as you guys kind of go walking up the stairway, you see immediately in the doorway having a conversation with one of the workers is Cassius there, once again, fully armored and with his sword at his side. And he notices you out of the corner of his eye, buttons up his conversation, and then as you guys are walking in, turns to greet you. And he says, thank you for making your way here.
Mm-hmm.
Things went a bit awry yesterday, as we had previously discussed. There was a lot to take in, and I believe we've all come to understand. To some degree, I was in the wrong, but it was a lot to take in. That doesn't change the fact that I do personally have concerns in the city, and clearly you're able to take care of things far better than I had even initially expected. Though hopefully together this time, since the curse on Grauman's seemingly lifted. Glad to see you're not trying to kill your friend, he says to Grauman.
Grauman's kind of like, puts his head down again. Every time it comes up, he's like, I'm just trying to live my life and forget it. People keep bringing it up.
Just trying to live my life.
I made a promise to, or at least I had openly said that I'd be willing to assist Rai long before any other conversations had happened. And I still feel that way, because while I may have different opinions about the various things that had happened, I feel as though any way of harming Bathsheba stands above what my other agendas may be. So, Rai, before anything else happens, I have been able to find somebody else who says that they are of devout faith to Timora, and they're willing to pray over that stone with you.
You hear, like, it's like, just to paint the picture of Rai, she's really fucking hungover. She's like wearing the hood, even though they're inside, to like avoid as much light as possible, and she's like groaning. And at this, you just hear like a yay, and then like back to more groaning. She's just slowly dying, just being up and in his presence.
You gotta, watching this, he's so to the three of you, he's just like stoically watching this happening.
Yep.
But to Thonk, who's insanely perceptive and sober, you can see that he's somewhat chewing his jaw, or grinding his teeth. Like you can see like the muscles over here flexing as he's forcing himself to hold this patience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's effort to it. Okay. So as he's holding his patience, and he says, I will have that person here very shortly. I've already sent for them. Did you bring the stone with you? He asks, but knowing the answer, he's already reaching forward.
Yeah, Riley nods and just like hands it to him, and like you see how like mouth a thank you.
I believe what
Grauman's like, why you give him all the nug?
The nug.
'Cause that's what it is. It's a gold nug, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. I think a nice. That's useful.
Right turns to Grauman, and she says, "Oh, I've actually been cursed with misfortune, and this nugget is actually going to kill me. So, I'm going to try and get that fixed."
Grauman's like, oh.
So he does take the thing from you guys, and as he waits till your conversation's done, and says, I believe you had said that I have to put it into the shrine, and all of us just have to say a prayer to her and to lift the curse, correct, Rye?
That's what the priest said.
Grauman's like, how we pray to it.
Not you, Grauman.
Oh.
Not you. And so he takes the thing and kind of brings it over into the shrine, and he leaves it on top of the shrine, and then makes his way back out and says, as I said, he'll be here shortly, so we'll take care of that momentarily for you. And this is, of course, with my blessings, and it's the blessings of Timora that this is being done. You no longer need a list from me. Things have been handled. However, I do still need of you.
Rai kind of like interjects, and she's like, "The cave up north."
I still need its whereabouts.
Rai like looks at Thonk.
As she looks at Thonk, and Thonk's kind of preparing how he's going to respond, he's going to take like a half step forward, not threatening, just kind of like leaning in, so it's like conversations to the four of you, but not to those around him. Yeah. He says, this city, this region, we don't look back, we only look forward. And that's why those that come here have an opportunity to have a different life. No matter how bad things may have been, we don't look back. We only look forward. And so like he kind of like leans back with that one.
Okay.
I'm still looking at Thonk.
Thonk doesn't want to fucking do it. All right,
so Adam's not your bitch.
What are you offering us in return?
You don't want to stay up here, do you? You were brought here by accident. You stepped through a magical portal that brought you here. That's pretty much what I've been able to surmise from my conversations with Rai. You need to leave this whole region. Well, guess what? Fall has fully settled in, and every day that passes, there's a greater chance that the pass and the mountains to the south is going to be closed up by some storm. Not to mention the various dangers getting between here and there. You were surprised by one Yeti that ruined your day. What if you were attacked by a large group of giants? What I'm offering to you is, assuming the weather is good enough, because time will pass between now and when you leave if you choose to do this for me. What I am offering to you is, if the weather is good enough, that I will have somebody guide you as safe as possible, as direct as possible, all the way down through the pass, and even as far as Luskin, if you please. Even as far as Luskin. Should you choose not go that far, that's your decision. And if the weather turns and you cannot make that way south, then I offer you safety and comfort in my city where you can rest for the winter. Well, relative wet rest. Winters here aren't very easy, but where you can stay here for the winter and at least wait it out. And then come the spring, during the great melting, you can make your way south then, once again, with a guide to bring you there with safety.
Rai whispers to Thonk, because like obviously the other two don't know that Thonk needs to go that way.
Yeah.
But she like whispers to Thonk under her breath, like, "You need to go that way. We do this quick. We can leave."
Yeah. No, he understands that. He nods to you, and then he'll look up to Cassius and just say, "Agreed."
So again, this task, there are hill giants. I need you to find where their lair was, and whether or not they're alone, whether or not there was more, and as much information as you possibly can. Its whereabouts, what's there, who's there, to the best of your ability, how many. Don't go putting yourself too far into harm's way, but find out as much information as accurately as you possibly can, and bring it back to me, and then we'll figure it out from there. But this is what I need. I could spare scouts a few days ago. I chose to send you because you were more capable. Since what happens, it's better that I don't send scouts. and that I just send you. But first, this task. He says, is once again somebody catching his eye. He turns to a person kind of like coming up the steps, and now buttoning off that conversation, he immediately turns and walks towards the person coming up the stairs, and says, hello. And this is in his native tongue, not his broken version of Damaran that he was speaking to you guys with. And his native tongue, which you guys don't really understand, sounds a few words that Otto picks up. He's like speaking to this person back and forth for a little while, and they're kind of like nodding to it, and he gestures to Rye and says blah, blah, blah. And they kind of like looking at them and asking a few questions, like, what the, like clearly very expressive with the questions asking. And
every time he looks at Rye, she like waves and smiles.
And he's kind of like nodding, like almost like giving in, nodding, and giving seemingly answers to these seeming questions. Again, inflection of tone and whatnot is how you're able to pick up their even questions or answers. And so after like so much of that happens, finally the person's like, yeah. And he will turn to you and say, they of course completely agreed to help out, and the priest was already in there setting up the oils and everything for the ritual that we're going to do. So if you would like to just go make yourselves comfortable, we'll have this over with as quickly as we can.
Rye like turns to the group. She's like, our luck's about to turn around.
Grumman like sees how happy you are, and he's like, he tries to like, he guesses that it's supposed to be good as well.
So with that, he gestures for that long room, whatever. You guys go sit and spend some time. They go in there. This process is not a quick one. They're actually going to be in there for a handful of hours doing this. I imagine after some time, kind of guys get impatient, meander around the place, go upstairs, see like them trying to repair or recreate, like say his desk and the broken thing of that over there, and things that are probably priceless, just trying to like glue it back together, like doing everything they can to repair stuff. There was no magic involved in all this, but after some time of happening, again, like hours are passing. After some time of happening, eventually a man in robes comes in. He's a much older human man in robes, comes into the place, and he kind of like whisks past everybody and goes upstairs, with tome in hand. And he just starts going over to the various broken things and waving his hand over it and saying his incantation. And you can see like the little bits of broken stuff is where it's been like repaired.
Wait, Grumman can see this?
Grumman sees this.
Oh man, Grumman gets up and he's like watching and like clapping.
So Grumman sees this and he's watching and clapping and very excited about it. But as I said, like he's like holding his hand over it, and so like bits of the table that were like held together as best as possible, the carpenters can do. The carpenters are very proud of their work and how well they did, and this wizard's gonna hold his hands over it and just finishes fusing together. And they're like almost disappointed or dejected with how easy it was just saying a couple words. They were able to do an even better job than they had done over hours and multiple people and planning and drawing and cutting and like really a couple words, and you did this. Wow. Whereas we can all just say a couple words.
Don't you have that spell too, Mathis? Doesn't Thonk have like like fixing broken things?
Would Thonk mend this man's stuff?
Probably not.
I don't think
Maybe
I have
show him
mending.
up. I don't know.
So what's funny is as
mending.
Grumman is seeing this stuff and clapping and
You can
cheering,
have it as a cleric.
Grumman kind of gets closer. But as Grumman gets closer, one of the things that Grumman all of a sudden starts to feel as he gets closer and is like watching this thing and kind of like interested, once he gets kind of like within arm's reach, as he gets there, all of a sudden he feels this like something come over him. He feels like there's this like pull to him, not to attack. It's like he's not feeling like he needs to hit this person or harm this person or anything like that, but he feels that if he chose to, if he wanted to.
Scott just says that because he knows that my reaction to everything is like, kill it.
Yeah.
He's like,
pull.
He has to clarify.
Do it. So he feels this pull that if Grumman wanted to hit this man, every time he holds his hand out over something and just begins an enchantment, instantly sees like he's never seen beforehand. All of his defenses drop. He sees all these places where you can hamstring him there, lob an arm off there, cut him there. He wouldn't even see these attacks coming. And you could do it in like the blink of an eye. Like he's doing this, just like a quick boom, you can just take this guy down. Blink of an eye. You feel as though every time he starts a spell, you can do this. And every time he's like concentrating on it, you know, like, oh, and then as I hit him there, I know it's gonna be so painful. He won't even be able to think straight. You know, like all these like thoughts are coming to your mind as you're just kind of like cheering it on, and maybe like your clapping goes from like a vigorous clap to almost like an absent-minded one as you come to these realizations. Again, no actual pull to harm the poor man. Just the fact that you know if you wanted to, you could do so very efficiently. So you guys watch this. I imagine even after some time, you leave. Like, go back to a bar, get some more.
Rye's like napping on the long table. It's just like head in her arms. She's just passed out.
After Grumman's like not like satisfied with watching this anymore, he grows bored. He kind of goes over to Otto and he's like, "What your favorite creature?"
Ooh. What do you like?
He like thinks about it and he goes,
deflect.
and he looks up and he goes,
Dragons.
"I like bird."
Birds are good. Yeah. I like eagles.
Me too. And Grumman's gonna start whittling an eagle, or what he thinks is an eagle.
The funny part is Grumman's not just whittling an eagle. As Grumman's whittling an eagle, he looks around and he sees, like, it's just starting to do it to the best of his ability. He looks and he sees there's tons of carpenter tools all around him. And fun fact that you guys would have picked up along the way in the couple days that you spent here, 10 Towns is known for their scrimshaw. Like, they're really good at scrimshaw. Now, typically speaking, the scrimshaw is done with the bones of this one particular type of fish that has like a large, thick skull, but that doesn't matter. They have really good tools and whatnot for scrimshaw. So even these carpenters who are just doing typical carpentry work, there's a little bit of like design they have to do in these doors too, because it's for the mayor's house. They they have these tools lying around. Would Grumman go over and borrow some of these tools to enhance his work?
Sure, he's gonna borrow them.
Okay. I imagine much like a kinder, if you know what that is, he's going to borrow and just forget to return. So all that happens, time passes, hours pass. If you guys leave to go to a bar, get food,
Making fun of your people there.
in a different world. So all that passes. One last fun fact that happens on his way out the place, because kind of like looking back at the door, he waves his hand over the door and finishes the craft work of the men that are still trying to finish fixing the door. Like, they're not even done yet, and he just finishes it for them. And they're kind of like annoyed with this. Like, everybody's just kind of like throwing their hands in the air. The wizard doesn't even seem to know it, whether he doesn't know or doesn't care. He then looks at the sign, and that battle ruins scratched up sign that Rye originally saw working in, and it's kind of like tosses waves his hand over the sign to cast it and repair the sign. Then like a wry smile comes across his face, and he leaves it. He just leaves it ruined, and like as beat up as it has always been, and walks away from the place. So eventually, like 5 hours later, 6 hours later, the three of them come out of the chamber, and they're all looking tired. They've been in there praying for hours. They come out, they look tired. The three of them have a few words inside like that, the chamber immediately outside the prayer room. And that one person, you guys have no clue who it is, leaves. Cassius and the priest comes up to you guys. Both of them, Cassius with kind of like a weak smile on his face, like he's happy that the work's done. But the first one to speak is actually the priest, who's holding the nugget in his hands. And he says to Rye, if you wouldn't mind, Rye, I would like to look at this a little bit longer. I don't intend to keep it. I would like to look at this a little bit longer. Cassius has informed me that you're doing a little bit of work for the city in the meanwhile. You can have it as soon as you return.
Oh, you can keep it.
The curse has been lifted. The curse is completely gone.
I don't really like it. I've had it for a long time.
Well, very well then. I appreciate your generosity. If there's nothing that comes of this, then I will at least consider it as a donation to Timora, to which we are truly and completely humbled by your generous donation.
Rye like shakes his hand, and then she like leans in with her hand. She's like,
I spent it 10 times over.
and then just like keep shaking his head.
He's like, oh. It's like a realization of why it was so difficult to lift the curse. and to that he like says, in Chondathan, says goodbye to Cassius, and he turns and walks away. That leaves just you guys with Cassius, and he says, well, that completes that task. The curse has been completely lifted. You are free.
I'm free. The wrists just fall off my wrists.
Oh, Genie, who then puts them back on in the next movie in the cartoon series? Come on, style. So you guys make your way.
Stockholm syndrome,
Yeah, Stockholm. Wow, nice. Is that why Otto just won't leave you guys? He's like, I like the pain.
He's the one who came in and joined us.
I barged in looking for
like,
adventure.
who the heck
and I
is
fucking
this guy?
found it.
Oh boy, did you fucking find it.
The ode to what he just experienced is going to be an amazing one. So you guys can leave this night to head on that travel to the north, or would you rather like leave in the morning after a fresh night's sleep and having the sun to guide you, or are there other things that you need to do even before you leave?
Rye's like raring to go. They've been cooped up here for a while.
Mm.
And she was sleeping on the table.
The gang's
Yeah,
back
Grauman's
together.
a wanderer.
He's had a 6-hour nap.
Yeah, Grauman's a wanderer. He just doesn't normally stay in one spot. So he's cool with going somewhere.
Otto,
Oh, yeah, definitely ready to go.
as you just said, always up for adventure, right? So we know that at least Rye is good for the cold weather. I don't remember whether or not you guys had already, but if not, then you can go and purchase yourselves some nice warm clothing. However, Otto actually already had some fitted for him, didn't he? And those are ready to be picked up for, what was the price again there, Bear? Was that right? I think it was 50, but you offered double.
All right,
100
yeah.
gold pieces
That's
if you paid in the future.
I also bought you a bunch of like robes, like animal fur. So
Yeah.
Are you going to go and pick up your fancy warm furs? Let them sit there and lay away for a while.
I can. How much do you have?
I don't know. How much do I have? I got nothing.
Are
So
you
I'm
Yeah,
not
we
even
lost
gonna-
all our money. We don't
How
have
much?
anything.
How much have you got, Thonk?
Like 8.
8
It's
gold?
not like I'm not like indebted to these people. I can just ignore their existence. I
You
don't
did
know.
tell them you're going to come back with threefold or something like that, or double.
I
Yeah.
just keep
Oh.
getting their hopes up. I keep coming back and lying.
Do I have one?
Rye.
No, I have 15. I got 15.
Rye gives you 100 gold.
I don't need this. I don't need these fancy garbs. That's okay.
You literally have like shit loose baggy clothes that you borrowed.
Yeah.
We're going on an adventure. Rye gives you
Yeah.
the 100 gold.
She wants Otto to look spiffy, okay?
Okay.
I literally stole this from the guy who fixed your loot. So
Yes.
here's 100.
You can justify it by
Rye,
saying
like,
it
comes
was
with
already
you.
spent.
Riley comes with you and she's really excited for you to like try all the stuff on, and she like offers to pay.
I am hesitant in character too. I don't know. I mean, I got clothes. I can just wear these.
Let's just go look. Let's just go look and see if you like them.
Rye just really wants a shopping buddy. She's like, let's go shopping, Otto.
Okay.
So funny. So you guys are able to go and gather the clothes. You have fun because Rye's really pushing that forward to have fun
I'm
with it.
now at 3 gold though. So
And now you're at 3 gold. So you get the whole party is 18 gold plus equipment amongst them. And eventually,
Otto had all my gold.
Otto, can you describe how amazing Otto looks? I wanna feel
absolutely.
like I got
As
my
I said,
money's worth.
as I had said beforehand, I am not Mr. Fashion by any means. I'm wearing a hoodie and I'm happy. From a dairy farm in Maine. So you
Give us
So
your best
Otto-
cat, like watching Otto go down a catwalk. Like, what
Oh,
is?
yeah.
What do we notice? What do we
Because
look
once I've got these on, I'm
Bring it
modeling.
anime style for us. Make it as the best you can.
I will allow Otto I will allow Bear to take over if you would wish to do his full description if you'd like. But I will start off with, as I had said beforehand, this isn't one in particular fur. This is a blend of different types of furs for the different areas. So It could be something like the area around like where his hands are, like the like around his forearms leading up into his hands are like the edges of like a wolf's fur. You know what I mean? Kind of like hugging with this nice gray color. But as it fades backwards, it fades out of the gray color into like a darker black or brown color, whether it be like a bear's fur or whatever it is that's back there. It is a blend of, or skunks and other creatures exist, right? It is a blend of different types of furs that are varying degrees of warmth versus breathing in all the right areas to make sure that he is extremely warm and comfortable while also being very fashionable as he moves along. The only downside to this is, oh God, blood stains fur so horribly, but you can it just looks great how it all comes together. It fits him perfectly. It's perfectly snug. He can move very well. It's like Under Armour. He's warm when he needs to be. He's cool when he needs to be. And it's all very easily taken off and adorned. So the cloak that comes with it is easily taken off and refastens. The brooch, or whatever it's called, the clasp that holds the cloak together, is wonderfully designed. Has nice design work put to it. The person spared no expense. When you said I'm coming back and paying double, whatever it was you had discussed beforehand, they goddamn up that ante. This is some amazing stuff that you would see on a noble of Waterdeep, which for you, Bear, it's known as the City of Splendor. It's one of the most expensive cities in the realms. So this is very fine clothing. Bear,
you can tell as Rye's paying, she's like pretty jelly. If she didn't look fucking dope already, she would be really jealous.
Otto going into the store had, the hesitation of not necessarily wanting to go all out with the extravagance, but upon donning these new threads, has come out of the dressing room with just an obnoxious level of confidence, and approaches Rye with this big shit-eating grin on his face, like, "Hey,
looking good.
Hey, girl."
He goes, "Oh, I know," and he does a little twirl.
Otto, always just the right level of flamboyance. So you guys have your moment with it. He's looking absolutely amazing. And I will leave it to the rest of everybody else's imaginations for how that falls into place. And so we will, you guys make your way out of the city. Once again, Grauman, who's relatively comfortable anyways, probably just picks up a slightly heavier cloak. And Thonk buys a nice, thick, heavy cloak, but otherwise doesn't put a shirt on, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. You're still not wearing anything but your bottom half of your armor, which is only giving you the +1 AC, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So,
Grauman already had a cloak, like a.
Was it? I honestly can't remember. It was nice and thick.
It's a magic cloak.
Oh, that's right. You're good. I mean, it's not like a weather enduring cloak, but you're good. You're happy.
Thonk's just like got his chest out, but like a cloak on, like a Spartan.
Hell yeah. I look good.
In 300.
Yes. Draping all the way to the ground. And
yeah.
It's majesty. So you make your way out of the city, out of the north gates. As you guys make your way out, because it is nighttime, as you go to leave, the guards that are there, some of them are familiar to you, some of them aren't. Some of them have given you attitude, some of them took bribes. It's a mix of them. It's not like it's the same guards every day, right? But as you approach and you go to leave, one of the ones that are actually operating the gate somewhat begrudgingly opens the door immediately for you. And if there's even the slightest raise of an eyebrow amongst any of you, or even if there isn't, he says, "Cassius told us to make sure you guys can leave and re-enter." And so he opens the door and lets you guys leave, despite the fact that you're late. And
wait, do I remember any one of these particular guards?
Oh yeah,
Was one of them red-haired by chance?
The one opening the door is not that one, but the one off to the side with this, like, I just sniffed a horrible shit and chewing on the worst sour grape ever. Kind of like off to the side, like, kind of look on his face. He's watching this happen. It's not safe.
Oh no, I look right at him.
In your fucking amazing regal
my
class.
fucking duds, yo. I am looking good. He saw me coming back crawling. He sees me walking out a fucking man.
Yep. So you just look directly at him as the gate is slowly opened.
I don't even need to say a word. I'm just looking at him. I'm just smiling.
And got his like
he gets a
face.
scrunchy face. He looks at you crankily.
Yeah, you
Very
fucking
upset.
know.
With a heavy harumph. He watches this. You guys are able to leave the gates. You head your way out of the north of the city. Now, this is a way that Addo had traversed twice, Rye twice, but who cares about her? And Grommen once. So you guys know it very well, especially Otto. You know it well. Grommen's eyes are better at night, though there is still snow on the ground. Grommen's eyes are better at night, but Otto's traversed it twice. The two of you are able to pick your way there. As I had said beforehand, it takes, despite the short distance, a few hours to do so because of how difficult the terrain is to do. Why don't we take a break? And when we come back, you guys are going to be walking up to some very familiar fallen trees. Dun, dun, dun.
All right. Great. Yeti attack. We'll be back in about 2 or 3 minutes, guys, for our final hour of Edge of Morality. We'll see you then.